chasing out there. Good morning, friends. Ripley and I have had a slow start today and it's been glorious. Mom is out of town right now with a friend, so it's just Ripley and I, and we have really been enjoying the quiet and the spring birds. Today is a miscellaneous garden day. It's a day where we slowly start to check off all of the small things that just get added to the list when you're doing kind of big projects. I have a few different plants that I need to find homes for. I'm going to do some guerrilla gardening, and by that I mean I'm going to take buckets of hundreds of sunflowers and just kind of plop them in areas and hope that they grow. As well as tying up some loose garden ends, I'm actually going to take you with me on a light foraging mission. As you can see, we have a lot of gorgeous wild roses. The harvesting window on wild roses is a little short for my liking, simply because rose petals and rose buds, for that matter, have so many uses that it would be awesome to be able to just get copious amounts of them. But with things like rain and strong winds and birds, they're highly sought after in a short window kind of foraging crop. Wild roses tend to grow on the edge of a disturbance, so the edge of a road or an edge of a field that kind of breaks up continuous forest, because they like a lot of sun. I have shared a video with you what feels like forever ago on how I make rose water, so I will link to that in the cards above. It's an outdated video, but that's fine. The process is still mostly the same. I have been slowly bringing home cardboard, collecting it from work and other various places to extend out the garden beds here in the high tunnel area. I am going to lay down just enough and move just enough dirt to plant out the 10-12 other tomato plants I have. I did just pot a few of them into some containers. I'll bring those up to the greenhouse area behind me and kind of string them up. Ground cherries, I multi-sowed them in this guy not too long ago. They are quite dense in here, and I'm going to honestly plant them all out in the same area, and some will survive and some will not. That's all right. Yarrow is a bit dry and a little worse for wear, but I know where I'm going to be putting these two. Working with containers when there has been so much rain, it gets so heavy and dense. It's a little hard on the back. Butterfly bush is a perennial, and as its name implies, it is incredible for pollinators and butterflies love it. I don't know where I want to put this one. That's why it's going into a pot. I don't want it to die in the meantime while I figure out where it's going, so it's going to be put into a pot, and then I will find it a home eventually. I'm going to stick the little name with it so I know what's going on, because not labeling gets you in a bit of a pickle later on. Today I'm going to be planting out this little angled corner kind of bed. We initially put this here because we don't like to lawn mow around corners if we don't have to. So kind of filling in between some raised garden beds, just with some more ornamental perennial herb beds, kind of allows us to ease in with the lawnmower, not have to get into all the annoying corners. And then we also have more space for perennials and things that don't necessarily require as much maintenance. Now, obviously the weeds have really started to come in strong on this area, but there is cardboard underneath, so these are all fairly superficial weeds. We do have this bracken that just is so persistent. It's like this. A lot of people will mistake it for a fern. It is extremely to get rid of, like so easy to get rid of. It's just really persistent and will come back again and again until it finally dies off. It's something that is all over the potato patch, which is what is right on the other side of this fence. Just snap it and it goes away. But it is something that we consistently have to do, which is a little annoying, but we also have this guy. This guy travels under the ground and is kind of hard to cut when it gets larger. Like, it gets very barky, and that's annoying. Other than that, it's mostly just crabgrass, some dandelions, but the dandelions are all very superficial because of the cardboard. See, there's the cardboard, and there's some weeds that pushed it out of the way to come through. I guess where there's a will, there's a way. Man, it has been so rainy. Sun comes out for one day, happens to be the day that I'm moving soil, and so hot. Why is it so hot so fast? One and done today, baby. I will let you know that if you're moving wheelbarrows full of soil and you're wearing flip-flops, momentum is your friend. You just want to kind of jog up the hill. The soil in this area actually was moved from where we put in the high tunnel, or where we flattened out the ground to put in the high tunnel. So there is quite a few rocks. The soil quality is not the worst in the world, but it is just earth. We did just move it from point A to point B, so I am going to just give a light layer of our soil we brought in. Over the years, adding compost, mulching, this is going to be a really awesome, fertile, healthy soil. That does mean, however, that there's a lot of rocks, so that's kind of what I'm doing also while I weed. I take out the grass roots and the weeds, and then I kind of just rake the rocks to this front edge, and it helps build up a little bit of a wall, drainage, and gets them out of the way of most of the roots and the plants. But again, this is not a main crop garden. I'm not worried about maximizing yield. I just want somewhere to put my oregano and all my extra sunflowers. So super easy, not high tech today, just getting the dirt sort of ready for some more soil, and then we're gonna plant. So first things first, a bunch of sunflowers. Oh, goodbye camera. bunch of sunflowers are going in this bed. And then I have 2 Black-Eyed Susan, which is like a sunflower. They're classic. I love them. They're gorgeous. Putting those in there as well. Got a couple echinacea plants. Put those in there somewhere. I had a Rocky Mountain wildflower blend. These are 3 of those flowers. I have no idea what they are, how big they are, how tall, etc. So they're going to find a place in this bed as well. What else do I got? I've got oregano that you're actually sitting on, so I'm not going to show you. And then I have 2 yarrow and then a butterfly bush. So we're going to do a bit of Tetris, lay some stuff out. That is the nice thing I will say about starting stuff in pots, is you get to move things around in a bed and make it visually appealing before you're committed and you actually plant them in. So here we go. So this is the rough layout. We've got butterfly bush, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 big old sunflowers in the back. Front right corner, we've got a Black-Eyed Susan. Then we're going to have 3 or 4 wildflower plants, another Black-Eyed Susan, followed by the oregano bush in the corner. I did the oregano bush in this corner just because I thought it might help deter some animals, as it is a scented herb. And, you know, it's an easier place here to get into the raised bed, and just seems like a hard corner to manage. Oregano's super hardy, so I just know it's going to do what it's got to do over here. In the center, there's actually 2 echinacea bushes in here. I'll separate them, and then a yarrow and a yarrow. Oh man, can you ever feel it when that sun goes behind the clouds? If you have a dog that has any amount of Merma or Great Pyrenees, they literally can't be close enough. Needs contact almost all of the time, and will just lean his whole body weight on you no matter what you're doing. Right, buddy? Right, buddy? Yeah. Mwah. Hey, yo. I had great intention of probably getting a lot more done outside today than I'm going to. This heat is killing me. I'm not used to it. Anybody who lives in the southern United States is probably laughing at me because I'm pretty sure it's like maybe 20 degrees Celsius. Either way, I'm a winter baby, okay? We're gonna water this bad boy in and probably call her quits outside for a while. I do have some Dandelion Mead and some Dandelion Root processing that I want to show you. And now we water it in. This is Ripley's favorite part. Buddy, where's your water dish go? Ooh, look at him there. Nice. Oh my goodness, slug damage galore. What? Get out of here, slugs. Is that a sunflower? Man, I have sunflowers everywhere. We have tomatillo flowers. Woohoo! Come all the way over here so I can show you the singular pansy that we have growing. Hello, flower. Lovely to see. Holy smokes! So we have that garden bed planted out, moved all the soil, got her in there, watered them all in, and I think they'll be great. I wanted to show you some of the containers that we have up here on the deck that I didn't show you in the garden tour. So, next to our little support for our canopy here, we have some indeterminate cherry tomatoes. These are Gardener's Delight. I'm actually going to come in here and pop these little side shoots off. If you don't know, now you know. But you just take the little side shoots that come out in the armpit of their offshooting branch from this main stem here. It just kind of directs the growing power of the plant into your main shoot. There are already some little flowers starting to form. We've got 4 of these very cute little silver buckets. These have Tiny Tim tomatoes in them. They're at various stages. This one's significantly smaller, but Tiny Tim is like a dwarf variety. It's tiny. Last year I thought I did something horrible and killed them, but they just stay that big. So I actually planted them in super small little buckets this year. We'll see how they do. We have 2 more cherry tomato varieties. These are the Sunrise Bumblebee. So they're basically orange and stripy, and we will trellis them up this side of the canopy on the deck here. Other than that, I have slowly started to thin out all of the lavender that we have in these front garden beds, and I planted some up into pots here and here. I'll move those around wherever I see fit. They're just on the deck here for the meantime. Our deck gets a lot of sun, so these lilies are having a little rough go getting established, but then there's also all of these, I believe it's portulaca. They have just a nice array of flowers, pinks, oranges, and they do really well in the heat. We have lavender, hens and chicks, some sunflowers, basket of gold, more hens and chicks, more lavender, more sunflowers, more baskets of gold. And then these are 3 glacier tomatoes I planted out here in the front. We have echinacea, portulaca, lilies, so much more lavender, and another pot of portulaca and lily. So it's a little while later. I got very hot moving all of that soil and planting out that garden bed. So continuing on the topic of being a good steward and not wasting anything this growing season, this foraging season, this abundant season that is spring, summer, and fall, I wanted to show you a little bit of the foraging that I've done so far and talk more on how I'm trying to waste as little as possible. I think we often get into our head that we grow a certain plant for a specific harvest. For example, things like raspberry bushes. You grow a raspberry bush for the fruit, the berry, a raspberry, but the leaves of a raspberry bush are incredible in teas and extremely nutrient dense. Same thing goes with your strawberry leaves. Same thing goes with dandelions. Now, dandelions is an example that people use all of the time because it is so commonly treated as a weed and a nuisance when it is incredibly nutrient dense. One of the best beginner foraging endeavors would be dandelions. On the topic of dandelions alone, I'm going to show you 4 products that I've made that we will eat off of for the entire year and that serve very different purposes, all from the one dandelion plant. First up would be the Dandelion Infused Vinegar. This is extremely simple. You do not have to have any kind of preservation skills to make this. All I did was take some thieves oil. You could use apple cider vinegar just to soak the flowers and get any kind of bugs or miscellaneous goo-goo off of your flowers, and then you put it in some white vinegar. You can get particular about the type of vinegar you use. I just used white vinegar. This is really good for getting the minerals out of the flowers, and it is awesome on salad dressings. Dandelion root. Now I actually just finished processing these today. All I did was uproot the entire plant. You separate the greens from the top, you give them a good scrub, you try and get all of those small roots off of there, and you can either dehydrate them, roast them in the oven, do them up in a cast iron frying pan, and they are incredible teas. Dandelions, it's good for liver support. I believe there's some blood cleansing properties. I'll do an entire video just on the actual medicinal, magical, and mundane uses of the dandelion plant, but this is just an example of all of the ways you can use. Next up, this is heavy. I'm making Dandelion Mead. Now, I'm not going to give you a tutorial on how to make mead because there's a lot of nuances, and I think that if you're interested in doing something like this, you should take some time and do some research. I am very excited for this. This is not the first time I've made mead, but it is the first time I've made dandelion mead. Now, one of my favorite parts of the dandelion plant would be the greens. I make a dandelion pesto. We actually just finished eating off of our dandelion pesto that I made last year, and I put about 5 jars up in the freezer. I'll grab one to show you. So I've got about 6 or 7 jars around this size of dandelion pesto. This is a very compact, nutrient-dense food, and when I use these and I take them out and I cook with them, I take maybe a teaspoon and add an additional teaspoon of olive oil, and it spreads out so much. So this is like kind of like a condensed version. If I were to eat this, I would want to add more olive oil in order to spread out the flavor and give it some more volume. So these are quite dense. They freeze very well. They're not something that you can just because of the oil content. So if you're doing dandelion pesto, put it in your freezer and give your jar some headspace so that when it expands, it doesn't pop your glass. Showed you guys in the garden tour our lovage plant and talked about how it's a perennial. It comes back, you can use the stalk, and we actually dehydrated and saved the leaves. We've got about 4 or 5 jars like this. Not going to stay like this. We just have them with coffee filters now to enable any additional moisture to come out of there. We'll probably, like I mentioned, put them into some type of celery salt or use them to flavor soups, but this is a part of the plant that would traditionally get thrown out that we are preserving and making time to utilize. Just like with our dandelions, we don't want to throw away potential food. So if you're freaking out for whatever reason that you're not gonna have enough food, stop being lazy and use the stuff that's all around you. It's a learning curve. It takes work, it's hard, you have to dig stuff up. Getting dandelion roots is not easy. If you've ever weeded anywhere, you know that. But these are nutrient-dense things that are abundant. Obviously, if you live downtown and people spray stuff all over your dandelions, don't use those ones. You're gonna have to go into the forest. But what I'm saying, and what I'm doing my best to show you and model for you, is that there's no sense getting caught up in the sense of lack and fear when you have all of the abundance around you. If you just change your perspective, change how you look at things that are considered nuisances, and make them an asset. On that topic, nettle. You ever walk into a field of nettle? It sucks. Don't get me wrong. Nettle, not always fun. Stinging nettle, for those of you who don't know that. It stings you, gets your skin real nice and itchy. But if you either dehydrate it or blanch it, that goes away, and it is one of the most incredible superfoods, and it grows prolifically on the property. It's hard to get rid of. It comes back every year. It is an extremely early grower in the season, so in that hunger gap, like first thing in the spring, your nettle greens are an incredible option. We dehydrate this and use this in teas. We'll use it in soup. We'll use it in pasta sauces. Anything that has liquid and can rehydrate this, any kind of medley in a pan, it's an incredible option. Other things that we have going on, we are dehydrating some chamomile, and we have a bunch of wild roses stacked up here dehydrating. Thank you for hanging out with me today in the garden. I hope that the conversation around foraging and utilizing every part of the plant is encouraging for you and gets your creative ideas flowing about how you can be a good steward and use all that is available to you. Switching from a lack mindset to the abundant mindset is hard and is something that kind of takes consistent effort and is a practice. I hope that when you find yourself in those fearful states that you can stop, take a deep breath, smell the wild roses, as it were. As always, may the force be with you, and I'll see you all again for a video very shortly. Bye-bye.